Have you been told that you have PTSD? PTSD after narcissistic abuse? Well, some doctors tell us it and some don't. But if you're experiencing the signs that we're going to talk about today, you might go and ask your doctor about PTSD or CPTSD. My guest today, Monica, is a survivor, like myself, that has had the fun of being a CPTSD victim and having to learn herself how to crawl out from the doctor's diagnosis, from the medicine and drugs that they were trying to put her on, and find healthy, more manageable ways to deal with her constant ongoing struggles with PTSD. This is not something we want to take lightly. This is something that we need to understand, because if you're going through it, left untreated, it's not going to go away. You really need to work with this. So without any further ado, let's welcome Monica, because she's got a lot of good information for us today. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. We are here to talk about PTSD and CPTSD. And the reason that I am talking with you is because you have a lot of knowledge, first-hand knowledge, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So how did you come about getting PTSD or CPTSD? Which one do you have?
Well, I have CPTSD, which is complex PTSD. And the difference between the two is that post-traumatic stress disorder usually just comes from one occurrence or incident. And complex PTSD is basically just I've been traumatized over and over and over again. So it becomes complex PTSD.
Okay.
And everybody thinks that you get PTSD from the war, and no, it's any war that you've endured on your own, and how you've been able to handle it or not handle it.
Right. And there's so many things that give us PTSD, certainly growing up.
Yes.
You know, having narcissistic parents and things like that, that begins the layers of the PTSD or the shock and the trauma. And then it progresses through our lives because we haven't really dealt with the first one. And so it becomes complex.
Exactly. It just piles up like a mountain, pretty much.
Yeah. So how does it feel to have CPTSD?
Well, it's, sometimes it's a never-ending battling war inside your brain and your body, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. There's days where you get up and, you can't even breathe. You can't even walk out the door. And then there's other days where, things just seem a little bit more simpler. But like, for instance, people that, it's like the simple things that for I don't even know what normal is, to be honest with you, but for the normal people, for them to just get up and go about their day, it's easy for them. But sometimes for us to even get up and open the door, it's not. And a lot of people don't understand or, get that. So unless it's happened to you with anything, I don't think people ever understand unless it really happens to themselves.
No, I experienced PTSD when I was going through my divorce, unaware of the PTSD traumas that have affected me to that point. But then that just really incubated this bubble of, for me, there was a lot of confusion. I just didn't want to eat. I had no ability to sleep. If I slept, an hour and a half, that would be good. I was so hyper vigilant and I couldn't stop. I was just like this, and it just was.
You were like having a manic episode.
Yeah, for like 6 months. And the sad part for me, and you can tell me your story, but the sad part to me was I was going to my doctor. I mean, I had a therapist, not a prescription writing one, but a therapist. And then I went to my real doctor and said, I can't eat. I can't sleep. I'm not, eat everything. I explained it all, walking into rooms, things like that. And all he did was drugs. Here you go. Well, you're depressed. Well, of course, you're getting a divorce. Here, have some medicine. You know, they never actually ever thought of it as PTSD. They never treated me for it. I was drugged into a place of being able to sleep. Sure, give me Ambien. You know, I might not wake up for a month, but that wasn't really helping me.
You're
You
right.
know, so before we go into all the treatments, because I know we've got a lot to cover here today, let's talk more about some of the other symptoms that we didn't mention, so that people can really grab onto something that might identify with them.
Okay, well, I recently just found out in my case that you just don't have emotional flashbacks with PTSD. You have physical flashbacks.
Oh.
So what happened to me, what's happening to me, now this has been going on for a very long time, on and off though. And I have these episodes. So they misdiagnosed me with having MS. Because you know how there's certain illnesses that will mimic another illness?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I suffer from these complex migraines, which goes into the same category of what's happening to me with the PTSD. So you have these physical flashbacks, and what happens is it feels like you're having a stroke. Half of the side of my body will go like in a paralyzed state. I won't be able to speak. I can't see straight. I'm confused. I've gotten lost in places that I've been 100 million times. I've ended up places where I don't really remember how I got there. I mean, it really does mess with you physically. My tongue will go numb, everything. And like I said, I won't be able to speak. I can't walk. I've got really bad tremors. And come to find out that, so they thought I had the MS, but I did all these tests. I went to all these different neurologists, and then it was my psychologist that was the one that really told me that these are actual physical flashbacks that my body is reacting to, is having.
Wow, I actually have never heard of the physical
Yeah.
types of.
And a lot of people haven't. And this is, one of the things that why I like to educate and aware with the awareness of mental health and PTSD, because there's so many things that people, they don't even really know what's happening to them. And a lot of times these doctors aren't giving them the right answers, the right information. And so you're going home and you're like, what's happening to me? And how come I'm going to all these doctors and they can't even tell me? And like you said, they just want to throw you a prescription. And I try to say skills before pills, because these meds that they put you on, they just have you walking around like a zombie. And there really is no true medication to treat PTSD. And there is actually, a few forms of PTSD, but there's no real pill to help you with PTSD. Now, I know that they are doing studies with cannabis and PTSD, but they're also working on the correct strain because, it's just like with any other medication. Not everything works for everybody. And depending on what type of, strain it is, the person may have a really bad reaction, whereas somebody else, it might benefit them. Just like with any other illnesses out there,
And with every symptom too, because
Yes.
I have made a video on cannabis and how it actually helped me so much during my PTSD.
Yeah.
Get me off of that Ambien and
Mhm.
take a couple puffs or a gummy bear and fall asleep.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the most powerful thing.
And then you don't have the crazy side effects and withdrawals afterwards. Like, this is the other thing that a lot of people don't understand, and the doctors especially, because when you go in there and they're like, oh, that's not working, well, here, take this. And it's like, why don't you go home and take this pill and then see if you can get up and go to work the next morning? And then they look at you like you're dumbfounded. And it's not to disrespect them in any way, but we're the patient, and we know our brain and we know our bodies and we know how the things react, how we're reacting to it.
Right, absolutely.
And we want to be functioning, not walking around like human zombies.
I know. So
That's what really upsets me the most.
yeah, and you've been through so much. You have done so much reading, so much learning, and this is what anyone has to do, no matter what they're doing, whether they're learning about narcissistic abuse or they're trying to learn Spanish. You hyper learn, and this is where your expertise has come in from. You had to learn this stuff because the doctors weren't really helping you. They were trying to medicate you. They were not really helping get rid of the symptoms. You're still walking into walls and walking into rooms and going, why am I here?
And you're sleeping and you're waking up and wondering why there's chip wrappers and cookies and everything else and melted bowls of ice cream, and you know, you don't even, and then you end up with diabetes, you know what I mean? And so it's like, what the heck?
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many different symptoms to PTSD, and actually I'm going to just do a plug that anybody should go to my website. I have a downloadable PTSD checklist, so I'll put the URL down below. But there's so many things that happen that that again, don't go diagnose, don't go into the bucket by the doctor of PTSD. Right. So you have to learn this. And one of the reasons that I encourage my groups when I speak to understand the PTSD is that if you don't treat it, if you don't get the right therapy, we're going to talk about that next, if you don't do those things, it puts you in extreme danger of other things happening to you. This book, Feelings Buried Alive, Never Die. We'll put the link down below too. Okay. I love this book because I also have this little teeny tiny version of it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. That's really cute.
A reference guide. And basically, you can see, it's really hard to see, but I've highlighted lots of colors in there. And they list every single kind of ailment. So you and I were just talking about IBS a little while ago before we got on air. And I had IBS my entire marriage. Like crazy, we're driving down the road, oh my God. And ever since he left, I haven't had it. Now, all of any kind of ailments, from cancer to leg pain to anything you could possibly imagine, has a core of being a feeling unexpressed in your body. So when you've got a PTSD and you're not addressing it, you are at risk to make yourself sicker. Has that happened to you at all?
Oh, that's definitely happened to me. I mean, because if you think about it, stress is like the #1 killer. It's a silent killer. Your body can be in so much stress that you don't even realize that your body's in distress or stress. You know, that, and that's what I mean about the physicalness that comes with having PTSD. It gets you to the point where you are physically not that same person anymore because it's totally destroying the inside of your body. And when you're taking those medications, it doesn't help.
Right. And there's right on to it. Right? There's so many lingering effects that, you know, again, we go back to the doctor saying, oh, you're getting a divorce, here, have a pill. No, if you don't treat it and if you don't even look at this as a trauma, you know, forget the whole sleeping residual, I can't eat, or maybe I eat 18 bowls of cookies. But it leaves you with things like trust issues and triggers. You know, you can be fine for a long time and then poof, something happens and you go down a rabbit hole.
Well, that's what happened to me.
The lingering effects.
The PTSD kind of went dormant, if you would say.
Okay.
And then the last incident that happened to me was basically how they say, what, you broke the camel's back, the straw broke the camel's back, or what. That was like the topping on the cupcake. You know, that was it. And then that's what totally just made me go right back into having severe PTSD. That's when they really, really diagnosed me with the complex PTSD. You know, they're like, this is more than just having PTSD. You've been through trauma after trauma after trauma, and it started at the age of 7.
Wow.
My first panic attacks where I could tell you the day, the whole incident, because like that's how vivid the memories. As much as you want to get rid of the memories in your brain, the bad pieces, you can't. And I've had doctors tell me that I have such a photographic memory that they can't believe that I have such a photographic memory. But for some reason, certain incidents that have happened in my life will never leave my mind. And when you talk about triggers, I have a piece, a spoken word piece called Triggers, and it's from noises to smells to the scenery. It's all your senses. So let's say you're having a good old day. Your day is going okay. Your anxiety is a little bit low, and you're calm. You only need that one little thing to trigger you, and then your brain just switches, and that the rest of your day is shot.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have startle reflex problems? Because last night my son went to give me a hug goodnight, and like he knocked over something next to me, and I almost hit the ceiling.
Yeah,
I'm
those are
expecting this happy hug, and then this noise, and I'm like, I was crazy.
That's what you call hypervigilanceness. When you're, or hypersensitive. Like I'm really my ears are very hypersensitive. So like white noise, I can't stand it. For like there's certain things that if I hear a certain noise, my brain it's like my brain automatically just goes straight to that noise, and then I know nothing else that is around me. So you could be having a conversation with me, and all I'm hearing is this noise in my ear, and I just want to like find it and get rid of it. That's like fans, water running too long, just certain beeps. If a dog barks, like these are all triggers. So like once I hear that, sometimes it'll just be repetitive in my brain. And your brain just starts racing and racing and racing.
Right. That's the hypervigilance for sure. So we've talked about what doesn't work. We've talked about the doctors that have misdiagnosed most people that we know. What has worked? Where have you gone, and what have you tried?
Okay, well, I've been in programs, and I've also been institutionalized a few times for breakdowns. But there's a few different things that you can do with PTSD. Now, there's something called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and basically that's just to that's more like for people who have, if I want to make sure I get this right, because sometimes my mind gets a little cluttered. So the CBT is more like for short-term goals and hands-on. And then you have psychotherapy, which psychotherapy, for me, I kind of like psychotherapy because those are places where you don't feel like you're alone. Those are like support groups where you sit around in a circle and everybody, whether you want to speak or you just want to listen, or maybe have some advice to give to somebody, but that's more, for support and compassion. And that's all part of healing, So there's that. And then there's DBT, which is more for like mood disorders and people who have multiple personality disorder. Now, there is something called EDMR. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
EMDR,
but this is something that I'm also working on with my psychologist. And that's kind of just to reprogram your brain in a different way, So they do these different things, and basically try to get you grounded and put your brain at a different mindset. But that's not something that you should ever look up on YouTube to do on your own. That is something that you have to do with a doctor, because you can be treading yourself into some heavy waters if you try to do that by yourself.
Right. Good advice. Really important.
Yeah, that's very serious treatment. And that's what I'm going through, like baby steps. It's basically like, say somebody is afraid of the water and you're trying to get them to like the water again. So you bring them to the water, you show them a picture of the water, and then it's step by step. That's what EDMR is.
Absolutely. And that's like brain spotting. I've done brain spotting when I was I first figured it out. Um,
Hmm.
that is rapid eye movement, kind of the similar.
Yes.
You've got the alternating sounds in your ears going back and forth. And basically, how it was explained to me on that was that your body was like concentrating on left, right, because the
Yes.
music was doing it. And you're sitting there. And she actually gave me some advice that no matter if anyone's ever in a panic, if they're ever in that hyper alert state, that all you have to do is literally, you could tap your shoulders, you could be in a meeting, you could be tapping your feet, just by going back and forth, back and forth.
It's
It's alternating the sides of your brain.
right. It's to bring you back into the present moment
Mm-hmm.
and help you stay grounded.
Exactly.
And that's where another treatment comes in, which I like. And I've also, I've created my own. It's mindful exercises that you can do. But I created one that you can do without people even knowing that you're doing it.
Will you share it with us?
Sure. It's called the Mindful Orange, if you can see it.
I can.
And the reason how I created this was, I mean, now I'm allergic to citrus, so I can't even do this unless I had gloves on. But so you could either get the orange oil, or you can, but with an orange, this is where the mindful exercise comes in, is you take an orange, because orange is very beneficial, whether it within nutrients and also with anxiety and stress. So you take the orange and you hold the orange in your hand or whatever for a few minutes. You look at it, you feel it, you get the texture, you know, you might smell it. Then as soon as you open the orange, you're extracting the natural oils to come out, which is like a natural hormonal stress release in a way. So all of a sudden it hits your part of your brain, and you kind of like get into more of a relaxed state of mind, you know. And the reason why I say you can do it without anybody knowing, because people probably think you're just eating the orange,
Mm-hmm.
but what you're doing, nobody knows what you're doing, because you're just focused on that orange. And however you're feeling, whether you want to rip the crap out of that orange, or you just want to peel it slowly and slowly take it in, or you just need to inhale it real quick, because it's easy to dispose, and you can also eat it, you know. And then you can also use yeah, it's aroma. So many things that you could do with the orange, but it's a good mindful thing for, you know, 1 to 5 minutes of trying to be mindful and be relaxed from high anxiety.
Right. And whenever I eat my oranges, and I did not know of your secret method there, but I've been doing this somehow intuitively. During my crazy days, I ate cases of oranges and I didn't know the value. I just enjoyed them. But I would open the skin, and then I would reverse the skin and squirt the oil on me, just get it around me, breathe it in, just feel like I was in an orange grove. And it made me feel, much more relaxed. And, just spreading that oil on my skin feels good. And
So you should try the exercise next time when you're eating your 10 pounds of oranges. But yeah, try it out. And I mean, and let me know what you took from it.
yeah.
Because what I did was I had a little class with my son and some of his friends. This is when they were in high school. I figured, oh, let me start on with the youth, you know, because they need to be mindful every now and then, these little, you know. So I did the class, and I got a better response than I was expecting. You know what I mean? So in a way, I was already doing something that I don't like being done. Was I was already judging, like, these kids aren't going to take this seriously, you know. But they really did did the exercise, and they gave me some really good answers.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's good.
So I was, and then I was very impressed by that. So I was like, you know what, I'm actually I'm gonna create this, because this just doesn't work for me. This is working for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of helping, healing, and advocating, and awareness, and education, and therapy too, you know, helping each other out. If you have a way of something that's, natural and that works, share it with people, you know what I mean, before they just go and, have to shove 50 pills down your throat.
Exactly. You go to your doctor and say, "Excuse me, doctor, but I'm going for these cuties instead of your pills."
Right.
I don't know that they'd like that very much, because then they probably don't get their kickbacks. But I want to mention one more thing before we go off the treatment thing. I don't know if you did this or not, but I did. It was a light therapy session. And these sort of bands of light, I think we took the video down, but it was just rotating lights flashing, same sort of EMDR, brain spotting, moving things on opposite side of your body. That's being tested for vets right now, and I was honored to have been able to try it, and I got some relief. I think you have to do that much more consistently. The people selling that thing were like, "Oh, 3 times a day for 10 minutes, you'll get yourself back." And
Right.
I met a lot of vets. They actually had a big movie showing, screening,
Oh, wow.
people without legs, and vets that have been doing this.
Right.
Like, I was lost. I couldn't play with my kids. I mean, the video was so powerful. Like, here's this vet going, "I've lost my legs and my kids are out playing and I'm not doing anything." After doing this 3 times a day, this light therapy, they're out there kicking the soccer ball, or in that case, not with the legs, but they're playing with their kids and making a difference. So their lives really were turned around. So if you ever have the opportunity, anybody, to look for something like that, I have seen actual proof that it does work. So
Okay.
let's make a quick a synopsis for anyone that you might be, giving them advice. What's your best piece of advice if someone thinks they've got this?
Well, the best thing that I always say is, learn about yourself, like yourself. Like, don't always rely on what the doctors are telling you. Sometimes you have to rely on yourself, and you can learn a lot from just being with yourself sometimes. But I say riding the wave, because, like, 1 minute your wave is good, and the next minute it's not. But my thing is, educate yourself, because nobody is going to educate you more than yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're having these issues or symptoms, because with mental health, there's all these different illnesses, but a lot of the symptoms are the same. So I can see where sometimes it's hard for doctors to diagnose you properly,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like I said, you have to educate yourself on yourself when it comes down to it.
Right. Absolutely. I have a book. Again, those of you who have been following my channel, I am very into workbooks, and I have up on my shelf right now at least 10 trauma workbooks. And when I got this one, you can see it's all dog-eared and post-it. Trauma Survivor Strategy for Healing. What I love about this is it is the CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, where you're looking at different events in your life. You're writing things out. When you write things out, you think them through. You're doing it. You're actually doing changes to your brain, because you're kind of writing it and journaling it in a way that these prompts are helping you heal, helping you see something that you didn't see before. So
Right. And you can do it at your own pace. So doing it at your own pace kind of helps, instead of you being rushed into things, because sometimes that's another thing. It's like people try to, because there's so many people that need help, sometimes I think you just get rushed through the system.
Mhm.
And that's another issue.
Right, exactly. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. To all of the survivors out there, Monica is a survivor, and she wanted to share this with you. Her experience is probably not that much different than yours, except that she has been battling it a long time, and she's done a lot of homework, and she's going to eat her oranges and do whatever she needs to do to take that foot out of the door every morning and wake herself up and deal with whatever happens that day. So I want to thank you for being here.
I want to thank you for inviting me to be here. And if anybody wants to check me out, I have my own page, Little Cicely Spoken Word, and I have the Mindful Orange, the Mindful Orange project up on there. So if you want to look it over just to see, what else I put on there. And I also have a video about the physical and emotional flashbacks that comes with having PTSD.
Okay, well, we'll put the link down below. So thank you so much.
No problem, Tracy. Talk to you soon.
Hey. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Monica is a brave warrior to come here and share her story with us, and I really want to thank her, and I hope that you learned something from her experience. Maybe you'll see that you're not alone. If you are interested in that PTSD checklist, you can go to my website, narcissistabusesupport.com/PTSD, and you can download this for free. And I've had people print it out and actually take it to their doctor and go, look, everything's me. And the doctor would be like, oh, well, maybe we missed that. So don't mess with PTSD. Get it treated, get it looked at, and if you're going to move on with your life, you need to address this, because the memories and the trauma get stuck in the back of our amygdala, and this little thing is just eating us alive. So don't let that happen, and let's get this taken care of. This is Tracy Malone. Thank you. I hope that you have subscribed to my channel. If not, please do, and I will see you again soon. Thank you so much.